There it is, guys. What's up? Welcome back to GESC. It's going to be day 2 of the NA qualifiers, and as you can see, it's going to be compLexity taking on Digital Chaos. This is going to be from the lower bracket. Both these two teams did lose in their previous matches. I believe it was DC took 1 game and compLexity took none. Definitely still compLexity working out the kinks of their new draft, but you know, this is not the time to be experimenting, unfortunately, because one more loss here and that team is going to be out. Winner is still in the lower bracket to face either Optic or VGJ Storm. That's going to be played right after this, so should be a pretty exciting day of Dota, guys. I'm Mike Loris, going to be your caster for this game. Can this draft start any slower? Yeah, there have been a couple of internet issues on my end. I think I did drop the quality just a little bit, so, you know, baby rage, no 1080p, whatever, guys. Hopefully it's going to be smooth, and hopefully the internet isn't going to go down. I think it's been going down about like 9 o'clock. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But, you know, that's a long ways off. So for this game, it's going to be smooth as butter. That's guaranteed. Keep note, DC are working with another stand-in here. IX Mike is going to be standing in, and he was saying, kind of jokingly, maybe, I'm not really sure, that he was going to be focusing on the offlane. I'm not really sure where they're going to put him, but for sure DC, for whatever reason, still not working with Moon. Again, I'm pretty sure he's not kicked or anything like that. I'm pretty sure he's still on the team, but there have been no official announcements from the DC end of things. And it's really weird for a team to like just get picked up by DC. They got picked up rather recently, and then they have a real big kind of roster shuffle after that. So I don't think that's the case. I think he's probably just busy or family issues or something. But compLexity definitely showing up a little bit in these past couple of games. And of course, they did get 0-2. They threw a gigantic lead yesterday. But still, they are, you know, working with a lot of potential here that I think they just have to iron out a couple of these kinks, and they should be fine moving forward. And it looks like they're going to keep on their kind of aggressive plan. We've seen compLexity go for this, I want to say exclusively, just going for these really aggressive timing pushes with or without the Chen, honestly. But it seems to be what they like to do. And honestly, when you're working with a new group of, I mean, not group, I guess, and when you're working with a new player, you don't really want to try too many different things, because you have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And this looks like it might be one of those things that works a little bit more so than not. So Chen and the DK, obviously the name of the game for compLexity is going to be push. Heroes to look out for still is going to be, from Moo's point of view, from that offlane, Underlord, probably a big one, a hero that can get one of those AoE aura supporty items, or Helm of the Dominator. Which is, I guess, at this point in Dota, an aura supporty item. Looking at that, looking at the Beastmaster is probably the big two.
Radiant team.
Outside of that, though, DC are going to pick up the Witch Doctor, going to pick up the Doom. And they have been running Doom a lot more so than pretty much every other team. You don't really get to see Doom all that often, and there is a pretty good reason. The reason is Doom, his ultimate. It's really, really good sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean, sometimes you just cast it on someone like a DK, and then that doesn't do anything. It just, like, doesn't do enough. Yeah, they're not going to be casting any spells, but at that point, like, you take your own ultimate, and usually that means the entire effectiveness of that hero. So Doom, like, essentially nullifies himself to nullify someone else, and that's not always what you want. Especially if you're going to be dooming heroes like Chen or DK, either of whom can still function somewhat normally, even though they may not be able to cast spells. DK can still sit there and right-click and tank things. Chen, he's not going to cast anything, obviously, so, you know, maybe no Hand of God, but his creeps will still work very well. But these two heroes for DC are pretty much the anti-Chen measures that they're going to take. I expect them both to be taking towards more supporty type roles. Cask makes Chen's life very, very difficult, and Doom could just eat Chen's creeps right off the bat. So, you know, an easy FU to the Chen coming out from these two supports from Digital Chaos. Not really showing much of anything here, though. I mean, these two heroes are fairly generic openers from DC. Although Doom is a little bit weirder as an opening, still can definitely get the job done. By the way, guys, if the audio or video is at all off at any point, please be sure to let me know, because I can't keep track of everything perfectly and keep the camera moving and, you know, commentate and all that stuff. It's a lot. Okay, guys, there's some stream stuff working in the background. Admin's asking me to restart the stream again because it's, like, not filtering out properly. I'm going to make sure I want to get confirmation because I do not want to cut out the draft because the game is already underway.
Radiant team pick.
Disruptor.
God. Working with a lot of restreaming stuff right now. It's not really cooperating. But DC pick up the Death Prophet. A decent hero to have versus that DK lane matchup-wise for sure. And it's going to give them that aggressive push power that complexity may not be ready to defend against. Typically when you do get a lot of these pushing type heroes, you're good at taking towers, you're not good at defending your own towers. DK, meh, Chen, I mean, they could fight over it, but they can't really make a staunch defense over towers should someone like Death Prophet actually show up. Complexity have the Disruptor afterwards, and that's a little bit interesting. I mean, there aren't really... there's still heroes like Bane, actually, in the pool. AA was actually banned out by DC, so I guess as far as those like 5-position supports are concerned, Disruptor still one of the remaining ones, and this is perfectly fine for complexity. Though it doesn't really have any huge synergy with the DK nor the Chen. Doesn't really fit the best into these pushing comps. All right, sorry guys. But yeah, there's still potential for some team fight setup, depending on what these other heroes for complexity, what Chessie's gonna pick up, what Moo's gonna pick up. You could still pick up an Omni Knight or something like that, and be very happy with that. Of course, oh no, you can't. He's banned out. I guess you can go for an event. DC though, gonna go for the Death Prophet, gonna go for the Enchantress. So we'll have a little bit of a push pull there between the Chen and the Enchantress. All right, guys, the stream will stay up. We're gonna restart it after this game. So when it goes down, don't panic, because you're not going to miss any gameplay, I promise you that. But Enchantress, the pick for DC, a hero that we also don't get to see all that often. Yet still another kind of countermeasure to that Chen. Getting Enchantress versus a DK is actually quite nice as well. Once you do get those super spears up, then DK, his armor is still going to block your base damage, but it's not going to do anything to block those gigantic impetus shots, because it is in fact pure damage. Complexity, though, sticking to their guns, will go ahead and grab that Pugna, so even more push power, and should be going for now a little bit of an interesting setup in the lanes. Is it going to be Moo playing the DK with Pugna in mid for Limp? Certainly some options here for Complexity, but really no matter how they shuffle up these lanes, it is still going to be Complexity going for a lot of push. And even outside of that, you have Pugna versus against that Enchantress. Pugna just with overwhelming magic damage is an absolute fantastic hero to have versus that Ench. The problem being there, I guess, is that Complexity don't really have all that much to kind of pile on to that Pugna. And he is very, very susceptible to both the Death Prophet and Doom silences. So there is some risk here, as there usually is. But if the Static Storm is going to give Pugna any sort of protection, if the DK is able to make the initiation, that, at least in theory, is how this draft is supposed to operate for the Complexity side of things. This Enchantress might be a little bit of a nuisance, though. She's very, very difficult to gank in any given game. The magic damage from Disruptor is more so on the lower end of things. DK and Chen are kind of the same way, so it's really hard to actually handle her in lane. And even if she matched up against the Pugna, like, she'll take a couple blasts here and there, whatever, but overall, she's going to be able to put out a lot more damage than she's going to be taking, especially since she'll just have the sprites to heal up afterwards. And once you get to level 6 on the Pugna, once you get that Drain, and maybe let's say level 7 with the maxed out Blast, then you can actually have a decent shot of, maybe not single-shotting the Enchantress, but, chunking her down to the point where she's not able to function normally. That, of course, isn't going to be happening for a long time, so this Enchantress definitely warrants some sort of answer. And at this point, seeing as though the Lifestealer has, in fact, been banned out, who is that going to be? It is going to depend on what Complexity want to do with their lanes. Heroes like Terrorblade can... Or Ursa. Okay, I was going to say Terrorblade, Juggernaut, and Ursa are like the 3 big remaining heroes that you want to have versus Enchantress. Terrorblade will still get hit really hard by the Untouchable, but he hits hard enough so that, even though he's attacking slower, it still is enough damage. Maybe there was, some Viper consideration there, being able to break that off, but Ursa will have all the attack speed in the world to deal with that Enchantress. Kind of not really a pushing hero to really go all in from the Complexity side of things, but matchup-wise, absolutely fantastic up against the Enchantress, absolutely fantastic up against the Doom. Serious negative synergy between the Ursa and the Pugna, that's not great, but it will work out most of the time, I would say. And then the Morphling is picked up from DC. Morphling. Dude, Morphling has been... Oh, we got a Brile Enchantress. What is happening? I don't know who's going to be going where for DC. They might be shuffling up their lanes a little bit. They might be swapping. But Morphling is definitely one of those heroes that if you see that the coast is clear, you're going to pick him up and you are going to absolutely rock everyone. And this is looking like maybe one of those games. As far as hard control is concerned, there's a Dragon Tail, there's a Static Storm, which is really good against the Morphling. But Morphling, even though he may face up against a lot of magic damage from the Pugna, so he's got to kind of worry about that Decrepify Blast combo chunking him down. He can also just morph into Strength and have enough HP to not get insta-killed by that. Morphling will have a lot of armor, and that's a big deal in this game. Like, DK will struggle up against that. The Ursa will struggle up against that. And as Morphling, you could do some pretty silly things here. Getting all that agility and being able to steal Ursa, you could actually use the the overpower, and then get that huge attack speed bonus. Is it max attack speed? I don't know if it's max attack speed. I think it was at one point, but they may have changed it. But get that whatever huge attack speed bonus, switch back to the Morphling, or just stay as Ursa. I mean, that works too, right? So Morphling v Ursa seems like a matchup where Ursa really could do well if the Morphling kind of overplays his hand and makes a little bit of a mistake. But in general, if the Morphling doesn't do that, it's going to be really difficult for this Ursa to function versus that Morph. So I really like this last pick for DC. In fact, for DC, it seems like their draft has been mostly mostly picked up in the form of counters for complexity. And they still have a reasonable draft. Like, their late game scaling is really, really powerful with the Death Prophet, with this Morphling in particular, and even Doom Enchantress. Like, the support, quote-unquote, Doom can do really, really well in the late game because of that Devour Gold. Even though he may not max out at first, he will still be scaling with those items. And even though Complexity had picked up maybe a not necessarily pushing hero in the form of that Ursa, it's still going to be a Complexity draft that's really going to top out at around that 30-35 minute mark. After that, they really have to try super, super hard to get racks to try to elongate the effectiveness of their draft. Otherwise, Ursa in the late game, he's not bad. He can still do the damage, but again, he's going up against really, really durable heroes armor-wise from the Morphling. The Death Prophet probably is going to be more than happy to pick up a Shiva's Guard or something like that, or just have some additional armor. Might even be something like a Solar Crest build. We've seen DPs go for that before, and Doom, being able to devour, can very easily just grab the Ogre Frost Mage, the Ice... Ogre Magi, Ogre Frost Mage, the blue Ogre with the Ice Armor, and then that's really difficult for Ursa to deal with. Again, physical resistance is the name of the game here. So it's like DC will swap up the heroes. At least Brile is going to be playing the Death Prophet mid, as to be expected. Stan King kind of getting his ass whooped in the jungle, though. A couple more right clicks. That sword hit from Moo. He's got some serious range on it, and Z-Freak will sneak in the last hit, draw the first blood. Is kind of busy fighting, so he will be able to send back a couple fewer creeps to the fountain. That's not really going to be that big of a deal. I mean, you get first blood as the Chen. You're not going to say no to that. And note, Chen already does have that Blightstone. Offlane DK, not really a hero that is going to go towards the offlane all that much. I feel like 9 times out of 10 it's going to be going towards mid, but it's a hero that Ritsu may struggle up against because this Morphling is overwhelmingly physical damage in this early stage, and even then he doesn't really have that much physical damage, so he'll be able to CS really well. But he can't really touch this DK. Like, look at all this regen. He's got 6 tangos. He's picked up Dragon Tail level 1, which is never really what you want to do, but to get a first blood like that, it's 100% worth it. So he'll be like a little bit off his ideal skill build, but Moo seems like a hero that, at least in this stage, is kind of untouchable. Speaking of untouchable, Enchantress is exactly that. This Ursa will, at a certain point, be able to get on top of the Enchantress and start clawing her apart. That point is not here. The Enchantress, he already has the untouchable, so harassment from the Disruptor is pretty much irrelevant, especially when AUI is doing this. Walking around with the Infernal Blade, Ursa does have a lot of HP, so Infernal Blade will do a lot of damage to him. And every single time you land an Infernal Blade, you're going to land several shots from this Enchantress afterwards. Like, it is going to be very, very easy and almost free harassment. Like, it's only 40 mana from that Doom. And he's not exactly the brightest penny, but 40 mana is such a small cost. And, oh god, T-Tors, they go in again with the Dragon Tail, and they have this Mud Golem combos. Dude, they already chucked out all 3 of those boulders, and Ritsu, not with a lot of raw HP. And Stan King, of course, being the same, is going to take a big hit, though Z-Freak's golems will get kind of cleaned up here. The damage has already been done. They're just bullying his bottom lane. 1 boulder will be missed because of the waveform, but the little shard golem is still here. Stan King taking a beating. 1 more breathe fire. Moo needs that extendo sword 1 more time. Can't quite get it. This is a shard golem. Yeah, the cooldown is very long. 30 seconds is an eternity in this early game. But yeah, Ritsu forced to use waveform purely defensively there. That's not fun, man. That is not fun at all. We're in top lane now. Chessie gonna try to get on top of AUY, but he does have a troll net. Ate that one earlier with that Devour, so able to keep Chessie at arm's length, and IX Mike, you can see, just poking and prodding 24/7. Damage from the Enchantress is not really super high right now. 60 is actually reasonable, but it's just the fact that it's free harassment. Like, there's no real punishment for the Enchantress. She may take creep aggro, but the creeps up against level 1 untouchable really won't do all that much. Oh, Z-Freak found another Mud Golem camp. See, you dominate the next one. The one that you had first splits into the 2 shards, and all these boulder tosses are the same. They all do the same damage. And they all have Bryle's name written all over it. Although 1 dies to the tower. Here's 1 stun. He's going to dominate another creep, so he has 2 more. 1, 2. He missed microed a little bit there, I think. Really, really hard to make that combo happen perfectly. So the Death Prophet will still take an absolute beating, but that gank from the Chen was just a little bit off. Ideally, you have the 2 from the shards, the 1 from the regular golem. You dominate another creep, which kills off your real golem, so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boulders. That's like 700 damage. That's actually disgusting. Actually, that's 625 damage. Math. And if you're able to decrepify beforehand, because it's magic, whew, like, that is some seriously disgusting damage output there. It takes a lot of micro, it takes a lot of finesse. And diving the tower with those golems, that kind of makes it impossible, because the shard golems are really, really weak. I don't know how much HP they have exactly, but they die just like 2 tower shots. It's really sad there. And Doom's trying his best to make that same impression. But again, this is a pretty untouchable lane on top. Chessie's still getting those last hits pretty easily. They'll have a Wild Wing here. It's not really going to do all that much. And compLexity right now just going to be just chilling, waiting for their levels. DK already at that level 4 mark. Really not much they can do to him. Again, like, what is this Morphling going to do? A waveform? That's about it. With the Maledict, it will do quite a bit of damage in the end, but I'm still pretty sure it's not enough to get this kill. Stick is going to be there, and yeah, DK takes a pretty big hit, but that's exactly what DK is kind of used to, right? He's definitely experienced worse. So Moo is getting absolute free experience on this bottom lane, which of course is going to free up Z-Freak to do stuff like this. Mess with Bryle as much as he can over in the mid lane, and hell, if there's a couple weak heroes in bottom, there's perfect opportunities to actually just take control of the lane. Sending Moo back. He'll have the TP scrolls to get right back out on the lane, and now AUI. He's going to get caught against the field. Earthshock going to slow him down, but the Scorched Earth, plus the fact that he has Windlace and regular boots, they're going to drag him back with the Glimpse, but Chessie's taking a lot of damage here. IX Mike being very persistent, just poking and prodding. Chessie gets the kill. Did IX Mike miss that spear shot? I am not sure. But either way, it is going to be a 1-for-1 trade that, you know, maybe could have been a 1-for-0 in favor of DC, but is still going to be vastly in favor of compLexity. Over in bottom lane, Ritsu is going to be jumped 1 more time. Does have the waveform out, but man, only 540 HP. It's so easy to chunk that down, and they're going to grab that siege creep with the Satyr Tormentor. Ritsu is in a precarious position right now. He'll do his best to draw off the aggro, but Satyr Tormentor has a lot of shockwaves left. And over in top lane, IX Mike, ooh, teleports out from the Earthshock just in the nick of time. Over in mid lane, Bryle, he's also going to just get out. Some narrow skirting of death from the DC side. And for DC, they don't really have any huge plans of making moves. They would obviously like to if the Death Prophet is able to pick up a couple of extra levels, go for the exorcism pushes, but really the aggression is going to be coming to them more so than the other way around. compLexity just waiting for, I think, 1 or 2 items on that Ursa. Get that Elder Dragon form in the DK. They're already starting to push down the towers with the Chen because it's a Chen. But going for Roshan really quickly is something that DC can't really do much about. DC don't really have a good Rosh fighting lineup. Exorcism is good, I guess. Siphon is pretty good as well, but you're looking at an Ursa Rosh. Like, that is going to be going down so quickly that there's not much time for DC to get into position. And Morphling as a hero just does not want to be leaving the lane in order to try to fight over Rosh. That is the last thing he wants to be doing. He's CSing really well in the bottom lane. Ritsu, despite losing his tower, is still farming pretty comfortably here. But he really doesn't want to be involved in any engagements. Bryle, gonna get a Siphon onto Limp. Will do about no damage, although the Cask comes in. Will bounce back to Z-Freak. It's only level 2 Cask at this stage. Push will continue. Limp does have, an Arcane Rune. And of course that maxed out Blast. His mana sustain isn't extraordinary right now, but with that Arcane Rune, it's probably just going to be, chucking his entire mana pool into this tower. There is still that catapult that Chen borrowed from earlier. And Limp, he's just got the range, he's got the blast damage. Again, there's no real way for DC to force these engagements. The only way they're actually going to be able to do this is, like, smoking around from behind. Send back to the base, and, the Pugna will just restore his mana pool. Tower, pretty much dead. The lack of initiation here from DC really is going to hurt them. They're going to try to kind of skirt these fights as much as possible. Split push on Morphling, definitely still a thing, though not as much so of a thing. And you can definitely see a lot of split push coming out from this Enchantress, especially if she's going to go for any sort of extra drum build. Looks like it'll just be 4-staff phase. She is incredibly fast right now. Of course she's smoked, but 400-something movement speed on this hero. With the impetus shots now up, she can absolutely destroy anyone she runs into. Although they're going to go in for mid lane first. AUI is here to give him a little bit of cover. Does stun up Moo, but Dragon Tail does go off onto the death prop. She gets a Siphon out, so she's not going to take all that much damage. Healing a lot off of that DK, and Moo will go down. And now from the back, it's IX, Mike, and Stan King. Kitrak getting absolutely ripped apart by those spears. Now they're going to change focus onto Limp. And it looks like with one more long-range spear, not quite lethal, they got him in the end. Bryle Ghost's going to finish him off. And that is DC getting initiated upon, but that timing was just a little bit off for complexity. Bryle was able to get that Siphon off on the DK, and though it is only a level 2 Siphon, is more than enough to give him enough juice to survive that, because you Siphon a DK, man. It's a lot of HP. Push continuing now with the rest of that Exorcism. Again, this is what DC need to do. If they get this tower, great. If not, it's not a big deal. Oh, he used Morph there. I did not see what he morphed. I have no idea what he morphed into. But he did use it. Confirmed. The fact of the matter is, they don't take the tower, but they don't lose the tower. They don't lose that fight. If they lose the Death Prophet there, more than likely, Complexity are able to just roll forward and take that tier 1 at least. So being able to nullify those engagements, draw evenly, and have 0 structural damage or 0 permanent structural damage on either end, that's the ultimate goal here for DC. That's what they want to do. They want to kind of avoid these fights as much as possible. At least avoid serious engagements as much as possible. Complexity can't really change their game plan either. I mean, they can go for that Rosh pretty soon now. Fury Swipes, level 3 at this stage, but once you get that level 4 Fury Swipes, get a couple Chen creeps there, and Roshan will absolutely fold.
Invisibility.
They will be stalking Stan King. Glimpse is in range. And they'll bring him right back into a field. Decrep, Blast, Drain? Not draining just yet. Cask is going to interrupt it, but Stan King should still be dead here. Voodoo Restoration doing what it can. One more shot from range. Pugna's got him. And the bottom lane was being pushed, but it looks like they're going to abandon that. Rotate instead towards mid lane. This time Bryle has no help. They'll once again borrow that siege creep. Chen has a couple more goons here, and the push will continue. IX Mike is doing the same thing. He's going to borrow a siege creep up towards top lane, put some damage onto that tier 2, and avoid the fight entirely. You can see everyone's kind of dissolving these push lanes now as Ritsu. We try TP out, Glimpse, and it's already used. He's going to be free and clear here. Every single time Complexity make a move with the Chen and are unable to hit towers or hit structures at all, that's them being sad. Like, the net worth isn't really like huge in their favor or anything like that, so it's still a pretty even game, but this draft from Complexity needs to be starting this snowball. And if they're not doing that, then they're probably losing the game. Or in the process of losing the game. Limp still split pushing this bottom lane. Veil, Blink Dagger on DK. These are all nice items to have for sure. It does seem like this this game plan for complexity will revolve in general more so upon just positioning and gameplay over items. Some exceptions, of course, like double blink dagger on Ursa and DK, like getting that kill on Bryle next time once you have those items, so much easier. And of course on pretty much everyone else, let's be honest. They have another Elder Dragon form. DK gonna pop that one. And this tower at this point has done its best. The only question is, can they deny it? Looks like they don't even want to try. Up towards top lane, the push is continuing though. IX Mike has the same creep. He does still have that catapult, and it is still doing a lot of damage here to the structure. That siege damage. Bottom lane being pushed as well. Ritsu, the only one presenting, but from the back, it's Stan King. Cask is out. Z-Freak is going to get maledicted and death warded. And that should be enough to straight kill off the Chen. But Chessie from the back will make it an even trade. He does have a little bit of haste rune as they're going to glimpse back AUI. Now Bryle's kind of surrounded here. Ritsu's going to jump in, but the Static Storm's going to drop as well. And now Ritsu's in a precarious position. He's fully morphed into strength already. We'll go into the Dragon Knight form to try to get some additional armor. And it looks like that'll actually do quite a bit. Waveform into the creep camp, but they still have vision to Dragon Tail him. And he has no more methods of escape. He'll once again go into the Dragon form, and we'll try to book it. Top lane, IX Mike was still pushing that one out. And wow, this tower took 1,000 damage on top of taking down that tier 2. Complexity probably will be able to take down this tier 2 on the bottom lane as well, and they do take a very, very favorable team fight, but that was still a fight that I would say DC contested, and ultimately I think it's debatably an even fight. Bryle now looking for Kid Track, though he does have Chessie right behind him. Siphon will not kill off the Disruptor, and the Siphon onto Chessie will save Bryle for a little bit, but he has 8 stacks of that Fury Swipes on him and will get taken down. From the back, though, it's IX Mike trying to go for Limp. Stan King's going to fall first, however, and this Ursa doing so much damage versus this Enchantress has got to fall back. Complexity will get a couple more free kills for the road here. Ultimately, structural damage. That trade, though, is going to be a structural damage in favor of DC. This top lane, tier 3, taking an absolute beating, and ultimately this tier 2 tower somehow still alive. It's got to be a couple of items, though. Blink Dagger on Chessie is up. What is Moo's Blink Dagger? Where is Moo? He's on top lane. He's got his Blink Dagger as well. And they probably should be looking to push waves out one more time, grab Roche. Chen has... Yep, more than enough creeps to tank. You don't really need all that much anyway. It's an Ursa. You also have that medallion. It's the first item, Sea Freak. That should be something that DC really can't contest. Even though they do have the Exorcism, they just can't do it. So for complexity, this is the big timing. This is the make or break. Roshan is going to be free, although a random Mud Golem is going to come in, get the full scout out, will be just dominated back by Chen. And now we see the immediate push setup. Kitrak leading the way, has that glimpse, and does have an obs on the high ground, won't see anyone. But DC know exactly what's going on here. That's why we see IX Mike on that bottom lane. Enchantress net worth still pretty darn competitive. Just chipping out these towers, forcing complexity back. Enchantress push speed isn't really anything to write home about. Even when you do dominate that catapult, it's okay. It's just that pressure of losing towers as complexity will have to fight over towers elsewhere. This is really where DC are going to be wishing they had a little bit more of a kind of AoE setup. If they had like a Blink Burrow Strike or something instead of this Doom, who's by the way getting chewed apart by Chessie. So many more options. They're going to jump in towards the Morphling. The Stomp was out of range though. A little bit of a missed micro there from Z-Freak. And Ritsu should be okay here. IX Mike is going to show up, put a couple of impetus shots into Moo. Again, it's pure damage, but this DK is fat as hell. He's going to jump forward and get Dragon Tailed himself. Trying to focus down to IX Mike. He has a Force Staff, will dodge the blast. Now Bryle coming in. Centaur still leading the charge, has that Stomp, once again recharged. They glimpse back the Death Prop into a Static Storm. Stan King's gonna be taken out by Chessie. It's a 2 kill for complexity, looking for a third. Enchantress versus Ursa, not a good place for the dear person to be. And Chessie will grab a double kill. And hey, look at that, they're right on top of top lane where tier 1 is ripe for the picking.
Thank you.
Able to get the right heroes on the right opponents. That's what the Blink Daggers do for you. And DK doesn't really have to be on anyone in particular. As long as you land that Dragon Tail and Breathe Fire, which isn't really that hard, honestly, then you're going to be happy. But Chessie absolutely needs to make sure that he is focusing onto that Enchantress first and foremost. She's definitely the easiest hero to kill off compared to the damage output she's putting out.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Being able to claw her down first thing, even through that Force Staff, that's super important. And they're also able to get the Static Storm onto the Death Prophet. Another just straight matchup that Complexity really want to have. If they, in any given fight, can Static Storm the DP, that should just be an insta-win for them. It seems like just matchup-wise, in that particular fight, Complexity got the upper hand. And now Ursa, Blink, and Basher. Complexity, they still haven't taken quite as many structures as they would perhaps like to at this stage, but they are winning these fights, keeping the net worth lead. And on the Ursa in particular, like, this is a hero that you very frequently see, much like a DK and a Razor, get really far ahead in the mid game, but then start to fall behind unless there's going to be constant fighting. So Complexity have to keep constantly fighting. Scan goes red as Z-Freak will be falling back. The scan stays red, and with these creeps in the area, Complexity know that there's a smoke here. Mu will blow it from the low ground. Does find the Doom here, but AUI pretty bulky. Is he tanky enough? The right... Okay, Limp's coming in. Yeah, he's super dead. And Chessie's going to jump from the side, kills off Stan King, and once again, he's found IX Mike. Earth Shock slow, hoping for that bash. Well, this is a Decrepify. Again, Ursa versus Decrepify is unpleasant, but they'll just glimpse him right back and obliterate her with the magic damage. Complexity now will be looking at some of these tier 2s. Moose still has a lot of duration on that dragon form. Limp has more than enough mana to make this push happen. And this is going to be a tier 2 at least. We see DC trying to get a couple more items on Ritsu in the meantime, pushing top lane. Same thing for Bryle on bottom. Bryle is really, really poor right now. A level 1 Exorcism isn't going to be doing nearly enough here, especially since they have a Wild Wing Aura, plus 3 armor, and of course that DK. The push continues as Moo's going to jump in with... Oh, Chessian just annihilates Stan King. Okay, they do doom the Ursa, but he doesn't care about that at all. As now they get the Veil onto the Doom. Static Storm is going to be latching the Doom inside. Ursa closing in despite being doomed. Might lose his Aegis. Looks like he actually won't. Blink out. Yeah, he's fine. Take down tier 3. Oh, he's actually blinked right in. He blinked right on top of the Death Prophet. Now Bryle's in a lot of trouble. Got bashed after the Force Staff and will go down. Chessie, again, may or may not lose his life, but it doesn't matter because he has that Aegis. The rack still dropping as, oh, Enchantress zaps herself from the Nether Ward. That damage was insane thanks to the Decrepify. Once again, Chessie's going to jump right on top of this Witch Doctor, kill him off in like 2 shots. IX Mike, he's doing what he can, but he can't do all that much. Complexity make a huge death blow push. Ritsu's going to backdoor the tier 1 tower. That's all well and good, dude, but this Morphling is not ready to fight yet. DC, we're definitely hoping for a little bit more success off of this mid lane Death Prophet. Perhaps a little bit more momentum in taking down towers in between the pushes of Complexity, but yeah, he's been really well effectively dealt with. And now at this point, we're looking at BKB for Mu, BKB on top of that Basher for Chessie. Oh my god, is Z-Freak at Aghanim Scepter? Oh my god, he's like pretty much at Aghanim Scepter already. 20 minutes in, 420 confirmed Razor CI grips. But all these BKBs coming up on Complexity, these are, we're going to win the game right now type of items. And you know what? They definitely, clearly have enough power in order to do that. Now, that is going to be the Aegis expense there. But just wait a little bit for Z-Freak to get this Aghanim Scepter. Get a couple of those big Ancients flying around, and then Chen is going to have those locked up in the fight. As opposed to before, where you could actually get them devoured or something like that. You can't do it yet. Doom's level 9 compared to level 20 he needs. Enchantress can't do that either. So Z-Freak's micro game gets a lot easier at that point. And of course Chessie, you know, he's just going to be able to jump in and not worry about taking really any damage from anyone at that point. Smoke up DC. Kind of a desperate move here. We'll be going, unfortunately, the wrong direction. As everyone else for Complexity on the south end of the map. And Chessie is kind of low on mana. Ursa doesn't use a ton of mana, but definitely needs a little bit more than this. Do they have any arcanes? I don't think. They don't really have any mana sustain for this Ursa. Shrine dead. Or not active, not available. It's a dead shrine, but it's alive. You guys know what I mean. Blast will take down this tier 2 top lane, being pushed, and with the ghosts out, they will look to snag a set of racks here. Bryle's got to watch out for that glimpse, especially with the jump in from Moo. Static Storm's going to go up. Glimpse back onto Bryle. Once again, he is silenced, but Chessie's going to jump in right onto Ritsu. He's going to go into the ghost form, and he will be fine. Actually morphs into the Morphling, still retreating. As the Ursa, for real, is going to be doomed. He will back off safely. They're trying to focus down to Moo with the Death Ward. The physical damage is enough to overwhelm that Dragon Knight, and it will be range racks to fall, probably. There it is. On top lane. Mid lane is in full breach. Ritsu, though, he's just absolutely dishing damage onto this melee racks. The ghosts are retreating now as AUI is going to get jumped. His ice armor is just going to be good enough, actually, as Chessie can't quite get the kill. AUI still really worse for the wear. They are trying to gun for this melee racks. A desperate move for DC for sure, but it looks like it may work out for them as AUI is going to charge forward to his doom. Chessie going to get sent back to the base. He will be just fine. The melee racks still stand. And without that doom, DC, I don't think have enough fighting power to stick around here. They're going to start mass TPing back. The Disruptor doesn't have a glimpse, and he's nowhere close either. And Chessie's looking to rotate around from behind. Can't find the last hero remaining. It's going to be Stan King. For DC, they kill off a DK. I guess that's kind of nice, but taking down a range racks still is actually really, really good for them considering the situation they were in. But it's not going to be nearly enough to equalize this lane equilibrium. Like, they could compLexity just push right down top lane, take the tier 2, and straight go high ground. Or kill off Enchantresses. Bash, there's the bash. And that's why you pick up Ursa up against Enchantress. Well, they found AUI as well. Short Glimpse, not going to do anything. They'll still blast and drain him out. Blink Dagger on Chessie's not yet up. Now it is. He's going to dodge the right click, get the blink off, and kill off the Doom. Even blast down Stan King down to half HP. The creep waves are not working well for compLexity, though they will have backdoor protection disabled because of mid lane pushing in. I'm going to go straight to work on this bottom tier 3. Easy pickings. And now the bottom racks vulnerable and will slowly but surely be taken down. Actually, no, that's pretty quick. That is not a slow and steady push. That is a very rapid push. And now it's like, even if this entire racks was taken on top, it won't make a difference in this game. DC being 2 racks behind. Jeez, I mean, I mentioned that 30-35 minute kind of limit here for compLexity. With this type of draft, if you don't have a set of racks by 30 minutes, then you're going to be hurting. They have 2 racks up by 25 minutes. Effectively, their draft just got pushed to like a 45-minute draft. Like, they could push now the game to 45 minutes and without taking megas and still have a good shot. It's all about keeping the tempo in this game, and compLexity have been doing a damn good job at it. And again, this is something that they have been running, I want to say, like almost exclusively since their little bit of a roster shuffle. Seems to be just what they're most comfortable with. Of course, yesterday they did throw away a huge lead against PGJ Storm in a situation very similar to this. But this is a very different scenario for sure. I mean, the gold for compLexity is definitely in their favor. They're also just translating it into items that help them end the game right away instead of just general fighting items. And the items are not really coming up for DC in a similar fashion. I mean, this Morphling's having a grand old time farming. Enchantress has the Hurricane Pike, and we all know how that works with the Impetus, as long as you have the Vision. But this Morphling can only shotgun 1 guy at a time. And he's still sitting at only 980 HP, so if he does decide to go in and try to shotgun someone, like maybe Kitrak's gonna get blown up, but even then, dude, he's got 1400 HP. This Disruptor being level 12 with the drums is not an easy hero to insta-kill as the Morphling. Usually he's like the only one you can insta-kill. And if the Chen is able to pick up, it looks like he has the Dragon as the only option right now. If he's able to pick up one of these Golem guys, those big Granite Golems, this guy, get that additional HP boost, then I'm pretty sure everyone's just going to be pretty much immune to these Morphling shenanigans. Plus, if the Nether Ward is up and he decides to combo someone, he will just destroy himself. Z-Freak in the back, looking to blow the smoke. They will blow each other's smoke as Z-Freak v Ritsu is going to be revealed. But it's okay if this Chen takes the focus. That's kind of what he's for here. As this creeps can still function, as Stanky is going to get dropped elsewhere. They will take out that Chen, but they'll find an angle onto Bryle. This Death Prophet will have the Yule Scepter save himself for a little bit more, but she'll still fall into the clutches of Chessie. Meantime, Limp versus AUI off to the corner. They will doom the Pugna, have him in the corner, and probably focus him down, but they lost the Morphling in exchange. Moo and Chessie still going off, and no one's answering them. IX Mike gonna try to TP out. He'll get glimpsed right back in, as Chessie's now focusing onto the Doom, will get the kill there. Focusing onto IX Mike, will get the kill there as well. A triple and a double, and a GG is called. As the Chen, again, the hero that you can focus if you really want to, but not having a Chen in these engagements isn't really a terribly huge deal for complexity. No focus going on to the DK, no focus going on to the Ursa, because they just simply don't have the damage, they don't have the tools in order to do that. Complexity will absolutely raffle stomp Digital Chaos here in Game 1. And this is a very, very streamlined push draft for Complexity. It's the type of draft that you see coming a mile away. And if you're not prepared for it with the right heroes, with the right playstyle, if you don't quite get enough out of your lane, say as a Death Prophet versus that Pugna, then you're just going to fold. And that's exactly what we saw. Guys, we do have to restart the stream, so it will go down, but rest assured you will not miss anything from Game 2. So you're just going to miss some music. But Game 2 will be coming up soon. DC facing elimination. I'll be right back, guys.